The question you viewers keep asking is, when is Canada going to go to the polls? Well, it depends on a number of factors, but the most significant one is who is going to be the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. Brian, going peeling back behind the curtain, we all have a group chat, and we're always talking about when this election. You have all these scenarios that you throw at us all the time, but the most significant and important one is when the next Liberal leader of Canada is selected, which is in just under 2 weeks' time, and it will be up to likely him, because we're pretty sure it's going to be Mark Carney,
Yeah.
when that actually happens. But before that, there were a couple of Liberal leadership debates that happened, one in French, one in English. What was your takeaway from those leadership debates?
Mark Carney speaks passable French, but in a real debate where you actually have cut and thrust with other people,
Mhm.
he would get destroyed. They were so friendly to each other. Like Chrystia Freeland supposedly in second place. Either she knows there's no chance she's going to win, or she doesn't know how to campaign because she should have been taking some shots at Mark Carney. Uh, on the Monday night French debate, they were in violent agreement on absolutely everything. Um, and Carney had a couple of missteps in French, but he was passable. It was funny watching CBC coverage afterwards. All these English people on CBC saying, "Oh, sure, he slipped up. His French wasn't great, but it doesn't matter." And then you go to the journalists scrumming him afterwards, and it was all about, can you take on Yves-François Blanchet and Pierre Poilievre in French? And that was the talk all day, the next day
Mhm.
on French television. So, it's very different. But Mark Carney's problem is he hasn't been tested at all, not really by the media, not by the others. And now things are coming out. So the Conservative said he lied about when, being involved in moving Brookfield Asset Management's offices to New York City. Turns out he told another big lie during the debate. He claimed that he was proud to work with Paul Martin in balancing the budget. Well, Martin balanced the budget in 1995 while Carney was working for Goldman Sachs. I don't even think he was in the country. He didn't join the finance department until 2004 when Paul Martin was already PM. So, it's you got to watch what you're saying. You're going to get caught out, and he doesn't seem to realize that yet.
Warren, strategy that Brian brings up is interesting because if the others are striving for second place in this, I mean, I think it's the foregone conclusion that Carney's got this in the bag, but you would think that they would want to try to do something to distinguish themselves, something to separate themselves with a little bit of an attack here or there.
Well, I've gotten prime ministers ready for debates, and there's two things that I was always after, because TV is a visual medium. So I wanted them to look like a prime minister, and I wanted their issues to dominate the debate. So if you sat there with a stopwatch, you could actually calculate who won by who dominated, whose messages were the most prevalent throughout the debate. Carney, if you watched him with the sound off, actually kind of looked prime ministerial.
Hmm.
He didn't look bad, but he did not dominate. And he did not dominate in French or English. In the
Hmm.
French debate, he came fourth. Like he was beaten by a rookie in the form of Ms. Gould, and somebody who doesn't have a seat in the House of Commons in the form of Mr. Bayless. And then the next night, I think a lot of us expected, okay, well, this is now his mother tongue. He's going to show a bit of life. And he didn't. Like he was really, really boring. And
I
so I
love how
think
you describe how he speaks, Warren.
yeah, and an assistant deputy minister, for Veterans Affairs, and his jargon
Hmm.
and Ottawa talk, and he just wasn't connecting with people. That's the opportunity you're given in a TV debate. He
Hmm.
wasn't connecting, and like Pierre Poilievre is going to destroy him in a televised debate. I mean, destroy him.
Hmm.
However, maybe, I'm trying to, okay, what if I'm wrong? maybe the country wants somebody who's dull and plodding and sounds like a banker, because he does. He is a banker. Maybe that's what they want in order to offset Trump. I don't know. You know, the polls will tell us in the coming days. But man, he was so boring.
Hmm. Well, maybe it's boring, Brian, compared to what we've just had with the excitable Trudeau and his socks. I don't know if that's the gauge, but the question that we keep getting in our world is, how is it that someone who's unelected by the country and has never run for any political office in his life is about to be our next prime minister? But these are the rules. This is the
Yeah.
way things roll in Canada.
One, these are the rules. Two, people are voting based on the image of Carney, but also a 10-second glance at his Wikipedia page. Oh, he was a central banker. Okay, he must know what he's talking about.
Mhm.
I'm very concerned about his policies and what they mean for the Canadian economy, because he has been Mr. Net Zero. We're at a point where we need to start using the natural resources beneath our feet in this country, not trying to move to a just transition or a carbon-free economy. We're going to be using oil and gas for a long time, and the world needs more of it. And Canada can actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions. If that's your burning issue, pun intended, if that's your burning issue, then get Canada's liquefied natural gas into markets like China and India to
Here, here.
replace their coal. And that would actually, I've seen some estimates that if we did enough of that, we would be lowering global emissions more than Canada's total emissions. So, but Mark Carney is, like Trudeau, wedded to this idea of all fossil fuels are bad. We
Mhm.
can't move forward with that. Um, and I think when you look at the polls, and they're competing polls, Abacus has the Conservatives still ahead. Leger, our polling firm here at Post Media, they've got the Liberals ahead by 40 to 38 if Carney is leader of the Liberal Party. We've got to watch for trends. We'll see what pans out in the next little while. And as anyone can tell you, polls can change quickly.
Oh, absolutely. One last word to you, but just as Brian mentioned, the polls, I mean, we are seeing them tighten for sure. The three of us have been talking about that for the last year, that there was no way the Conservatives were going to sustain it. And they're 20-point lead in some instances. They're probably a lot closer than they would like. But that said, uh, walk us through what could happen after the coronation of Carney, Calamity Carney for Canada, and he's then prime minister. What happens next?
Well, right now he's ahead without even officially leading the party.
Hmm.
Um, and, the Liberal Party is now higher in the polls than it has been in 4 years.
Hmm.
They would be nuts not to go for an election right away and hold on to that momentum they've got. It's a big risk if you wait to the fall. Maybe Donald Trump gets sedated and he calms down and he starts focusing on somebody else. He's still popping off about us every single day. That helps Carney tremendously, and that has obviously tremendously hurt Pierre Poilievre. Poilievre is, at the start of the year had a lead of nearly 30 points. It's gone. And it's not something that he did. Donald Trump did it to him. So maybe by the fall, Trump is focused on something else and not us. So I think there's going to be a lot of, and I've heard, there's a lot of
Hmm.
liberal voices arguing for right now, take advantage of not just the weakness of the Conservatives, but also the profound weakness of the NDP. So I think we're going to be right into it in just a matter of weeks. And I think it's understandable that the Liberals want to do that.
Well, Canada, are we getting ready for a spring election? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to the torontosun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.